with Coach Greg Lansing of Indiana State. Sycamores, they've won 2 in a row and 3 of their last 4. This week they'll get started with a matchup in Chicago with Loyola. So it's welcome on Coach Lansing. And do you have any comments about that upcoming contest with the Ramblers?
Oh yeah, we're certainly going to have our hands full. They came down here and put it on us. It was never really a game. We did not play particularly well, but that was entirely because of how well Loyola played. Came at us, punched us right in the face, and didn't let up for the whole game. So it was really disappointing to not be in a game, and that was one of the games I think that we didn't compete at the level that we needed to have a chance to win in this league. And we're playing a little better, and they fought awfully hard yesterday, and watching them against one of the best teams in the league there with the Shockers, and came up a little short there at the end. So we've had some good battles with these guys, and hopefully we can go up there and make it a better game than what we did here.
All right, we'll go ahead and open it up to questions.
Our first question comes from the line of Todd Golden with the Tribune-Star.
Hey, Greg.
Hey, Todd.
Obviously, your defensive will or attack or whatever you want to look at it wasn't where it needed to be last time you played Loyola. What needs to change, and how do you defensively deal with a team that has the kind of array of options that Loyola has?
Yeah, it's really tough, Todd. In seeing them the first time we saw them, I was like, geez, these guys are the behind Wichita and Illinois State, this is probably the next best team in the league just because of the weapons they do have offensively. And you have Milton Doyle, one of the most talented guys in the league without question. And then they just have so many good pieces around them, and all those guys making shots and can come off ball screens. We had nothing for them. And we're guarding a little better now. They run a lot of ball screens, so we got to be better with that. Make it a little tougher on them. Like I said, we didn't compete like we needed to against them in the first time, and all the credit goes to them. But I think we've been practicing well, getting better, and doing some things a little more consistent basis. And we'll have to play awfully well to go up there to have a chance to beat them.
The last time you played a team that really runs a lot of ball screens, I suppose, would have been Evansville, and you did a little bit better against them. I know Loyola does it a little bit differently than they do, but what's kind of the general plan of attack against a team that does run so many ball screens?
Well, everybody does it, so it's something that we work on every day within our shell defense, ball screen defense, and we'll switch it up by opponents and at some point, but a lot of times we just do it the way that we think is best, and what best helps our team, gives us the best chance to win. Again, like you said, we did not guard it well here, and that's what they do a lot of, and we had nothing for them. They're making threes, they're getting to the basket, and doing whatever they wanted on the offensive end. So we're going to have to fight them a lot harder than what we did. And when you're guarding a ball screen, it's a couple guys' responsibility mainly. The guy guarding the screener's got to call it out and talk quickly, and the guy on the ball's got to do his job, and then the guy helping has got to do his job, and the weak side defense has got to be able to be in help side and then be able to close out to the really good shooters that they have. So they're not an easy team to guard. There's no question.
How much is there to be said for the timing of when you get a team? And that's not to suggest that Loyola is playing worse than they were when you saw them earlier, but you guys are playing better. And the difference in a conference race, how much does that matter?
In our league, we have the true round robin, so you get to see everybody twice. And I think it depends, road games and how many you may have in the road, and when you play, say, in Illinois State and at Wichita, the top 2 teams like we did right out of the gate. And the only thing I think it really can affect is maybe some of how you feel about yourselves. If you're playing well and you're playing confident and you're experiencing some success, you can carry over that momentum. Whereas we were the opposite with us. We weren't beating anybody, and we weren't being able to ride the wave of playing well and experience some success. So I never worry too much about it. More's been said about it this year, and maybe it's affected us, but so did our non-conference, as difficult it was, and much as we were on the road. But all in all, it boils down to the best teams finishing where they're going to finish and having a chance to compete for a championship, and the rest of us trying to get better as throughout here February. So we can give ourselves a chance to win in St. Louis.
All right, that's all I got. Thanks.
Thanks, Todd.
Your next question is from Harry Schroeder with the Valley Hoops Insider.
Greg, you guys won 3 of the last 4. What has there been 1 or 2 key things that have turned the season around a little bit?
Yeah, we're about to throw a parade here, Harry. I mean, we're so excited about getting a couple in a row. We're just, I tell you where it is, and you've known me long enough to where we're big on how practices go. And I really commend our 3 or 4 seniors for staying on these guys, staying on the new guys and young guys. And I know they've been a little frustrated because it's taken these new guys and young guys so long to understand the level you have to practice at and compete at every day, because you're going to play on game night how you've been practicing. So last 3 weeks have been pretty darn good in practice. Even at an Illinois State and at a Northern Iowa, we had chances to win those games. So we have been playing much better, and we're certainly going to have a couple good days here to get ready to go up to Chicago and have a chance to beat Loyola. But that's what it mainly boils down to. And these guys sticking together. I really give them some credit for that, because it was a struggle there for a while.
How big has it been getting Bell back?
I think it's been very important. TJ, none of us were happy about, including him, about when all that went down and him stepping away. And I know I didn't feel good about it. He's the best at scouting report stuff. He being a 5th-year senior, he's the best in our prep. He knows what the game plan is. And because the way Amandre Rickman is playing has a lot to do with TJ Bell taking him under his wing and really helping him. And TJ is such a skilled guy. And a smart guy. He's been great for us. He's so happy to be back with his teammates and being a part of this. So he's fun to be around every day. And he's coming off an injury that people just don't come back of. So he's about a 75% of what he used to be. But with what he's got in between the ears, he's really been helping us.
And if I could, Greg, you guys got Niels from a foreign country. How do you guys go about recruiting foreign players?
Lou is so good in Texas. We've always had some guys from Texas, and knowing the coaches at his junior college really got down in there and did a good job and filling a need. We've always had those skilled 4s that can shoot it. With him and Matt, they've been a little inconsistent this year, and that's probably why we've been a little inconsistent as well on the offensive end. But he's doing that, and then we don't have the budget here to be running around and going overseas. But we signed another guy in Daniel Hoonerman that's coming in here next year, and it basically goes by some of our guys, some of our former players. Again, it was Lou's guy is overseas playing professionally, works this kid out, and you have a connection. And throwing Larry Bird and Indiana State out doesn't hurt over there for guys like that. So it's something we have not done tons with, just because of, again, our recruiting budget compared to some others. But I know other places have had tremendous success for it, and we'll go wherever we can to get good players, because Indiana really gets recruited hard, and it's a dog eat dog and with recruiting in this state.
Thanks, Greg. Good luck.
Thanks, Harry.
That looks like all the questions we have for you today, Coach.
Okay.
Thank you for taking time out of your morning.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
We'll now move along to Coach Ben Jacobson of UNI. Panthers, they've won 8 of their last 9 contests. Their last loss, one of their last losses was against Bradley, a team that they're going to face on Wednesday at home. So welcome, Coach, to the call. And can you talk about that upcoming matchup with the Braves on Wednesday night?
Yeah, good morning. They got us really good at their place. Got out to a big lead in the first half, and our guys after halftime we gave it a shot. Closed it down to I think 5 at about midway through the second half. But for most of that game, they played a lot better than we did. So we're gonna have to be a lot sharper here on Wednesday than what we were at their place.
Thank you. We'll open the line to any questions that you may have.
Our first question is from Dave Reynolds with the Peoria Journal-Star.
Ben, can you compare last year's recovery from the slow start in Valley play to what you've gone through this year?
They're more different than they are the same, Dave. Last year with Wes and with Bo and with Paul, and with what that team had done in the non-conference, in beating North Carolina and beating Iowa State, and then also having Jeremy, Bennett Cook, Clint Carlson, Wyatt Lohaus. There was enough guys that had played on the NCAA tournament team the year before, and we'd had enough success in non-conference play that we had lost a couple of close games on the road, and that helped drop us to 2-6. So it was just a matter of getting going and just getting a little momentum because we knew we had a really good team. And this year's team, we have so many first-year guys. 11 of the 16 are first-year guys in the rotation. 4 of them as redshirt freshmen, and then 7 of them new to campus. So, we played okay at times in the non-conference, but we hadn't done anything like what we did a year ago in the non-conference. So, with this year's team, it was just a matter of trying to figure out how to play better. Our defense was not very good at all the first 5 conference games, and at times in the non-conference. So we just had to get a lot better. And there were more unknowns with this group, Dave, simply because we've got so many first-year guys on this team.
And then just to follow up on reviewing the first game with Bradley, you didn't have Jeremy that night. Obviously, that was
right.
That was a factor. Has that been his return to health? Has that been as big of a consideration in how you guys have rebounded, or can you kind of trace some of the other factors as well?
Yeah, that's certainly one of them. He's our best player, and as he's done in his career in our league, he does a little bit of everything, and so we need him obviously in the game and on the floor, and that has been him. That ankle getting better has been an important part of us, playing at a higher level, and then also I guess 2 other things I would say, Dave. The Bennett Cook and Clint Carlson have played really well now for 4 or 5 weeks, and those 2 guys have been someplace that we can go with our offense, and that's made a big difference. But I would tell you the biggest thing that's changed is defensively. We're doing the fundamental things that allow you to make things a little bit harder for the other team. We were giving up so many easy baskets there for a while that we didn't put any pressure on the team that we were playing, and now we're defending at least at a level where things are harder for the other team. So and we're going to have to do all of that come Wednesday, because watching Bradley play, I think they're playing good basketball. And sometimes you play good and you don't win games, but we get a chance to watch him play, and Bradley's really playing good basketball.
And finally, that return to better defense, has that just been a maturity of these kids, or things clicking in at the right time, or how would you describe that?
Yeah, the first year guys gaining experience, being able to play some games and gain experience and get better at what we want to get done at the defensive end. That's been one part of it, and I think the other part of it, Dave, is that at some point you get tired of giving up easy baskets. You get tired of giving up layups and wide open threes, and so you got to get locked in, and you got to figure out a way to get better. And I think that was a part of it as well. Probably more the younger guys and the new guys just gaining the experience. But I would tell you it's a combination of those 2 things.
Thanks, Ben. See you Wednesday.
Okay. Thanks, Dave.
I think that's all the questions we have for you today, Coach. Thank you for taking time out of your morning, and good luck this week.
Okay, thanks.
So we'll move along now to Coach Brian Wardle of Bradley. As the Braves, they'll face UNI and Evansville this week, 2 teams that they beat earlier this season. So welcome, Coach, and if you want to, go ahead and talk about those 2 wins earlier this year and what to expect with those return matchups this week.
Well, they're in the past, and we did in those games we defended fairly well, and but as you guys all you got to move forward and you got to keep trying to improve day by day, and you definitely address with your team, with our young group, just here's what we did well and why we won. We need to repeat these things and try to improve maybe on a couple other things, but both teams are I think everyone's playing better down the stretch in the whole league. I mean, you watch teams, how everyone was playing in January, now in February, I think everyone's improved. And so the games are getting very competitive. A lot of people, any given night, anything can happen. And we got to be dialed in and play much, much better. And when it comes to Northern Iowa, obviously, we controlled the game. We played well in that game, but Morgan was not playing. And he's a difference maker for them in all areas. But we did do a lot of things well in that game. Scored the ball, we moved the ball, and we did a good job defending some actions that they like to do. So we got to repeat those, but really be locked in on Morgan.
And we'll go ahead and open up the line for some questions.
Our first question is from Harry Schroeder with the Valley Hoops Insider.
Hey, Brian, just looking at how some of you guys recruit foreign players, can you talk a little bit about the mechanics of pulling all that off? You have a handful of them, obviously. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, I think we recruited a lot of them with the timing of getting the job last spring and needing to fill a roster out of players. And I think at that point, the best players available that late in the year in recruiting were a lot of international players. And so it's just your connections, your contacts, your network of your staff and yourself, finding a lot of film on these kids, bringing them in. At that point in time, we could work them out. So they filled our needs, and they were good students, good people, great character, and it's kind of worked out that way. And then with our two, Koch Barr has been in the States for about 3 years at a prep school. So we've known about him for a long time from the South Sudan, who starts for us at the 5. And then Jane Hodgson was, a young man we were tracking when we got the job here, and played at a high level at an academy in Australia. And obviously having a freshman in Callum Barker, just one Australian, sometimes can lead you to network and communicate with people in the country about future Australians, and that's how we ended up getting Jaden.
Is that, you think that's a key ingredient or an important ingredient, particularly for teams like the Missouri Valley, not in the Power 5 conferences, to be able to find players that maybe are a little bit off the grid?
Yeah, it's hard because the kids in the States now, everyone's exposed. There's very rarely any hidden gems anymore with social media and YouTube and all these videos and the film you can get access to now. So it is hard to find those hidden gems. I think you got to recruit worldwide. I think basketball is a worldwide sport and is very, very popular throughout the world. And I think you got to do that, but I don't think that's got to be your main focus. I think obviously we want to hammer away in Illinois and in the Midwest first off and foremost, and we'll continue to do that. But then you got to find the best needs and the best fits and for your program and the talent for your program to help upgrade as we move forward. So we're definitely, we have an international base in recruitment, but that's not where we spend all our time in.
Appreciate it, Brian. Good luck.
Thank you.
I believe those are all the questions we have for you this morning, Coach. Thanks for taking time out of your morning for us.
No problem. Thank you.
And we'll go ahead and move the call along now and welcome on the coach of the Missouri State Bears, Paul Lusk. The Bears are set to face co-leader Illinois State on Wednesday evening over in Springfield. Coach, do you have any comments about that upcoming matchup with the Redbirds?
No, I don't.
We'll open up the line to questions.
Our first question is from Jim Benson with the Bloomington Pentagraph.
Paul, it seems obviously a while ago since you played ISU at Redbird Arena, but you took them to overtime. As you look back at that tape, what were you kind of able to do in that game that kind of maybe neutralized them a little bit? Especially, I guess they haven't lost at Redbird Arena 19 games, and you guys were the only one I think who took them to overtime in that streak. What were you guys able to do in that game?
Well, I thought we made a lot of shots. That helps, Jim. I think we may have made 14 threes, but I thought early on we did a pretty good job guarding them in the half court. I think they hit 3 or 4 early threes, and then we got that corrected. And we did some pretty good things. That we were able to take care of the basketball for the most part. The second half, they went to some zone. We were pretty good on the glass. In the end, it was a really good game. We weren't able to win it, and it went to overtime. And they're playing very good basketball. They're a very good team. As I mentioned when we first played them, everybody talks. Yeah, they've got very good talent, but I think what makes them very good is their experience, and those upperclassmen. Just watching them last week versus Drake, even when Hawkins went down, a guy like Tony Wills and Paris Lee, they're just not going to let them lose. They have a very strong will, and I think all that was evident last week.
And you mentioned Paris Lee. Obviously, he's played at a very high level this year. Is preparing for him, what are some of the challenges of that from an opposing coach?
Well, I mean, it's all good players. You have to be prepared for it, but he's just, he can shoot the basketball, he can drive it, he can facilitate. But I think more importantly, you have to be conscious of it when he's guarding a player, because he's so good defensively. But he makes them go. He's the heart and soul of their team. He can score it when he needs to score it. But he can also impact games without scoring it, whether it's facilitating, whether it is defending, or more importantly, whether it's just from an emotional standpoint, getting guys to do exactly what they need to do. I just think he's got great leadership ability as well.
Paul, how would you kind of rate your team's confidence level right now? I know you've lost 5 of 6, and obviously you guys have played so much this season.
Well, I thought yesterday we played very, very hard and guarded and dominated the glass, but we really struggled to score. Northern was a team that was not shooting the basketball very well, and they came in and made 10 threes, and really Morgan had struggled from the field, and a lot of his threes were contested. They were off the dribble. They weren't assisted on. He just made big-time shots. But, anytime you lose and you go through a tough stretch, sure, guys can hang their head, but that's unacceptable. We've got a lot of games to play, and we've got to be better. We're not playing very good basketball right now, and I think it gets down to, at this time of the year, everyone has to step up, but then your better players have to play very good basketball, and that's what we're looking for. But I thought our effort was outstanding yesterday. As I said, to dominate the glass, to guard the way we did guard. We really struggled offensively, missed a lot of stuff at the rim, missed a lot of good shots, and ultimately that cost us.
All right, thanks, Paul. See you Wednesday.
You bet.
Coach, that's all the questions we have for you. Thank you for taking time out of your morning, and good luck this week.
Thank you.
And now we'll welcome onto the call the head coach of the Southern Illinois Salukis, Barry Henson. The Salukis, they are set to face first-place Wichita State on Wednesday night over in Carbondale. So welcome, Coach.
Good morning. Thank you.
Any comments about the matchup with Wichita State this week?
Well, obviously, we're playing the best and the hottest team in the league right now, and I just listened to Paul. We've got a basketball team that's not the hottest team in the league, and certainly it's a great challenge for us, but we welcome the opportunity, and we welcome the opportunity to play basketball at this time of the year.
And we'll go ahead and open up our line to any questions.
Our first question is from Harry Schroeder with the Valley Hoops Insider.
Hey, Barry, I'm doing a little story on foreign players. You don't have a ton of those, but what's your thoughts about trying to find guys from other countries? I know Rudy's from somewhere else, but how do you guys go about recruiting the world, I guess?
Well, I think anytime you're recruiting foreign athletes, it's always about your network, and all of our foreign athletes, which we've had, and we now have 4 total since we've been here, have all come through our network. And I just think it shows, Harry. I think it shows that this is a global sport now, regardless of whether it's NBA, NCAA, NAIA. It doesn't matter. It's a global sport, and basketball is just loved worldwide.
And can you tell me a little bit too about Tikla, just how he's progressing through the year? Every time I watch you guys, I'm just more impressed with the growth of his game.
Well, he's really struggled as of late, but I think that's natural. Most junior college players, you get about a year and a half, and it was a situation where he was thrown into a starting lineup right off the bat, and it's difficult. And I think the second time around, people figure out what you do, and I think right now he's struggling with people have figured out what his weaknesses are. They've attacked it, and you really don't have the opportunity at this time to adjust to those weaknesses. That comes from practice and off season, and I certainly think he'll grow. But I'll say this: he has been one of the best additions we've had to our program in a long time, and we certainly wouldn't be where we are if he weren't in the lineup.
Thanks, Barry. Good luck.
Thank you.
Your next question is from Todd Hefferman with the Southern Newspaper.
Hey, Barry, most of your teams have closed well to the end of the regular season. What you know about this group? What makes you think you may be able to make another strong run at the finish here, last 4 games?
Well, because I bet on our guys. Point specifically. I believe in these guys. I believe in this team. We're a little banged up right now mentally, and probably more so mentally than we are physically, but we're a little banged up physically. That's a fact. It's not an excuse. We're at the grinding part of the year, and everybody else is like that too. But let's get one thing straight. We lost 2 basketball games, and the most recent in Evansville. Evansville beat us. They just came in here. They outcoached us. They outplayed us. I was disappointed in our team and our effort. I was disappointed in myself, and they did a great job. So I don't want to take away from anything that Evansville did, but I still believe in these kids. And we're going to have to. My dad would say we're going to have to buck up and bow our necks and get ready to play. And that's college basketball. That's the way it is.
With the schedule you have this week, with a game Wednesday and then a fairly short road trip for a game on Sunday, are you more apt to maybe give them an extra day off or give them some more time off, or that's not what you can do at this point of the season?
Well, Todd, there's 2 different theories, and I was extremely upset after Saturday's game and our effort. So we practiced early Sunday morning. We brought them in Sunday morning and practiced, and probably had one of our, I would say one of our toughest practices of the year. I've gone the other approach right now, so I'm going to find out. I just think when you don't give great effort, when you don't execute, when you don't listen, I think it's time to catch their attention. It's a hard time of the year to do it, but I chose to do it, and we will probably take Thursday off after we play Wichita State, but I think with a game of this magnitude, it's going to be based on how good our effort is, and I was extremely disappointed at that, so that's why we brought them back Sunday. We'll go again today, and we'll go tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Coach, looks like those are all the questions we have for you today, and I just want to thank you for taking time out of your morning, and good luck this week.
Okay, guys, thanks. Have a great week.
You too. So we'll move along now to the head coach of the Evansville Purple Aces, Marty Simmons. Evansville, they've won 3 in a row, and they're set to face Drake and Bradley this week. Coach, can you kind of begin the call by just talking about the turnaround for your team and what's gone into winning these last 3 ball games?
Well, I just think that, we've played better. Number one, I don't think we've hurt ourselves as much offensively with turnovers. I know that was really the case in the Missouri State game. Loyola was just kind of a grinded out. David Howard is someone that is playing with a lot of confidence right now. I think our entire team, when you go through a spell where you're not having success and you're putting in the work, makes it tough. But our guys have hung in there and they've battled.
now they've been on the good side of that. I think they're just playing with more confidence.
All right, we'll go ahead and open the line to any questions.
Our first question is from Harry Schroeder with the Valley Hoops Insider.
Hey, Marty, I'm talking to some of the coaches about recruiting foreign players, and you've done that a lot over the years. How do you guys go about that, and how do you maybe even prioritize that?
Well, we've been fortunate, Harry, that we've had some coaches that had established contacts in Europe and maintained those for quite some time. And then I think, just the type of university we have. We're a small private institution, and our school's done quite well with recruiting international students. So the diversity on campus is really, really good. And I think the kids, when they come on campus, they see that and they feel comfortable. And then I think when you have some European players that do come there and they have success, it certainly makes others, want to come and be a part of that. And they've done a good job of recruiting those kids when they've been on campus for visits.
So, like, you get one guy and that leads you to the next guy, that kind of thing, as well as the...
A lot of times it really helps. Not every time. Some of these kids have played in the States, and it's just luck of the draw, so to speak. But the kids that we have had over in Europe, we've had a little bit of that where guys have had a good experience. They've shared that, and the kids have wanted to be a part of it.
And then, your recent success, you mentioned you're just playing better, but the difference between winning and losing, it's not very big, is it? There's not a big margin.
No, and a lot of times when you're losing, everybody just looks at the result. But our guys, I really felt like when we were going through that tough stretch, we were battling. We just got beat. And there were times that you could look at film and you could say, well, we beat ourselves, we turned it over too much. But the thing that we've liked as a staff is our guys have stayed the course. They've continued to listen. They've continued to work hard in practice, and they've improved.
Appreciate your time, Marty. Best of luck.
Thank you, Harry.
Well, Coach, looks like those are the only questions we have for you today, so we'll go ahead and let you go early, and thank you for taking time out of your morning.
Thank you.
So we'll move the call along now to the head coach of the Loyola Ramblers, Porter Moser. He'll be on the line here, and we'll go ahead and have him open up with a comment about this week's contest as the Ramblers face Indiana State and Illinois State on the schedule this week. Welcome, Coach.
You wanted me to open up with a comment about Indiana State. They're playing really well. They've won 3 out of 4 since we played them last. I've talked a lot about it. I think they're really good. Scott, they're tough. But it's such an up and down season. Your confidence ebbs and flows. And they're playing with a lot of confidence right now. I just heard Marty talk about it. Every game's a grind. And, when you lose a couple of them, you got to key in. Are your guys battling? And we've lost a couple tough ones. We lost in our last 4, we've lost the overtime by 1 at Missouri State. We lost the 2-point game against Evansville. And we lost, obviously, a tough Wichita State team last night. So we got to just keep battling and get your confidence going in the right direction.
Thank you, Coach. And we'll go ahead and open up the line for questions.
Our first question is from Todd Golden with the Tribune-Star.
Hey, Porter. You kind of alluded to it a little bit in your opening comments. Sometimes the timing of when you catch a team, matters most. We like to think of X's and O's, but sometimes it's how confident a team is. Indiana State certainly is playing better than they have been. What have you seen? I know you're probably just starting your film study, but what have you seen out of them that kind of demonstrates, how much better they played, certainly since the last time you played them?
Well, the confidence part of it is really big. The confidence part of it, when you win a close one, like they won the close one at Evansville, that can really, spark you. And, they shot it when they're shooting it really well. I think they hit 10 threes against Drake. They had a nice road win against Bradley. They had 8 threes. I think Clemens is obviously key, and Scott. I mean, those guys, but they got a lot of different guys. I mean, they come in with so many bigs, and they got 4 men like Van Syk and Bunchen that can shoot the three. So I just think they got a lot of guys that are playing confidently right now, and that's the key to it. It's a credit to Greg, getting your guys confident, and especially when you've lost a couple, and they sure are confident right now.
When you look at your own team, one thing I noticed is that Clayton Custer seems to be getting his consistent scoring back that he had earlier in the season. Is that a fair assessment of what his performance has been like lately?
Absolutely. He's getting some. And the thing about his scoring, I think he had 18 or 19 last night and made 1 3. He got to the foul line. He made some drives. He was 1 for 7 from 3 and had some open looks. And he's, that's usually one of his best parts of his game is knocking down threes. So it is encouraging that he can find a way to make 19 points or 18 points, going 1 for 7 from 3. He's becoming more of a threat in different areas, getting to the foul line, getting to that paint mid-range shot. But we've got to shoot it better. I mean, if you're going to beat a team like Wichita State, you've got to be clicking on all cylinders, and they have a lot to do with it. Their defense. I mean, they have a lot to do with you not shooting well, and so just got to. Clayton is a guy that we definitely need going down the stretch.
All I got. Thanks, Porter.
Thanks, Todd.
Our next question is from Harry Schroeder with the Valley Hoops Insider.
Porter, I'm asking some of the coaches about recruiting foreign players. You have a couple. How do you guys go about that, and how important is it to find guys that, maybe from other countries that are maybe slipping through the cracks from other people? Just talk about that a little bit.
Well, there's there is a market for that. There's been a lot of success with some overseas guys, and you want to have your recruiting pulse. You want to have your pulse on that, the international recruiting. I think Chicago's a great international destination, so there's a lot of positives with it. Sometimes you can get a guy that if he was here would be so over recruited. So you have to be, you can't be naive to it. And you got to have your pulse on it. With that said, sometimes you can't get as thorough of an evaluation on a kid. Sometimes the kids over here, you're doing home visits, you're doing school visits, you're watching them practice, you're watching them multiple AAU games, and you're getting a truer evaluation than you are sometimes of an international kid. So there's a lot of success stories, and there's a lot of ones that don't work out. And it is something you just got to, just like anything, be thorough with it, be open to it. But I definitely think there's a market for it because there are. You just look at some of the players that are thriving over here on the different rosters around the country.
When I watch you guys and then I look at your numbers and whatnot, you're not playing a whole lot of guys, and you talk about the grind and the close games. Is it really hard to find a time to get some of your starters off the floor and get other guys in?
Without a question, Harry. I mean, we've said it for a long time. We've grinded a lot of guys, and I got to continue to be smart and practice. But it's not too late. I've been meeting with all the guys off our bench, individual meetings with some of these guys. We've got to have guys. We can't have a guard come off the bench, play 19 minutes like yesterday, have zeros across the box score. 8 minutes, 0 across. We've got to get some guys producing. So, we won 24 games 2 years ago. I don't think I had one guy average over 30 minutes a game. In league play, I got certain guys averaging, 30, 35, 35, 34, too many minutes in a grind league like the Valley. It's just, it grinds you. And it's just the way that the people defend and some of the offenses. It's just, you need depth, and we've got to try to find some guys down the stretch here.
And obviously losing Chastain when you did was a big deal in this discussion.
No question. I'm trying to really put that in the back burner and not think about it because it happened so long ago. But he was in our rotation of our 6, and he gave us a versatile 4, like to play with give Dante a break. So no doubt. But everyone has injuries. Everybody's going through them. That one happened early, so I'm not dwelling on it as much. But it is. You look at the teams that are really thriving. They have some depth, and we've got to. It's not too late. We got some capable guys. We got some capable guys that just got to come up and start stepping up and producing.
Thanks, Porter. Good luck.
Thanks, Harry.
Our next question is from Jim Benson with the Bloomington Pantagraph.
Porter, Harry just asked you a little bit about Matt Chastain. I was just wondering where he is in his progress from his surgery, and do you expect him to be at full strength even at the start of the summer?
Not at the start of the summer, Jim. I expect him more towards the later part of the summer, end of July type of it. But, you couldn't ask for a kid to work harder. He's gaining weight. I mean, he seems like he's tweeting out his weight every time he gets on the scale. He looks physically much bigger. He's really smashing his upper body in the weight room. And, he'll be a freshman next year. He'll get his year back. And we got the two bigs coming in. So those are three guys with some size that'll all be freshmen next year. But, he's progressing well, Jim, and he's working his tail off.
Thanks. See you Sunday.
All right, Jim.
Looks like those are the only questions we have for you today, Coach. So thank you for taking time out of your morning, and good luck this week.
Thank you very much.
Now we'd like to welcome on to the call Coach Jeff Rutter of the Drake Bulldogs. Drake will face Evansville and Missouri State this week, two teams that they beat earlier this season. So, Coach, go ahead and just talk about those upcoming matchups with the Bears and the Aces.
Yeah, hello, Ryan. Looking forward to a good battle, of course, tomorrow night at Evansville. Marty's really got his group playing well and with confidence. And, of course, not only is it, Jalen Brown and Ryan Taylor, but boys had a couple other guys really chip in and help, too. And in particular, Dwayne Gibson with a big game at Southern, and David Howard is certainly giving them a lot of production around the basket as well. Playing some stingy defense, and as always, very, very efficient offensively. And then, of course, Paul's group, we had a heck of a game, heck of a battle down at their place a couple weeks back, and of course, Paul does a great job. And boy, all this stuff's just jumbled up. You look at these standings, and a lot of big games coming up here the last 2 weeks.
Thanks, Coach. We'll go ahead and open up the line to questions.
Press star and the number 1 to ask a question. Our first question is from Harry Schroeder with the Valley Hoops Insider.
Hey, Jeff, your guys' offense has still been okay, but your defense is, you've given up a lot of points. Can you pinpoint that a little bit, what's going on the defensive end?
Yeah, Harry, I'll tell you what, some of those numbers are on us for some defensive errors and lack of production and things like that. Of course, some of that is based on how we play offensively, like we're going to more times than not take shots earlier in the possession, which means we're going to have more possessions, more field goal attempts, and more scoring. But, for example, the other day at Indiana State, that's on us. We came out, played the right way offensively, had an 8-6 lead, but had a couple pick and roll coverage, errors. Not to take anything away from Indiana State. I thought they did a great job, really came out ready, aggressive, made shots. But, we had our hand in some of that defensive transition. Sycamore's really pushed it. Since we've gone to that two-post lineup like T.J. Thomas, Nick McGlynn, with Ori Arrogandade rebounding it well, there's times we're just two back or, 2.5. We let him be opportunistic at times, and it really hurt us. Whereas earlier in the year, you got a guy like Bill Wampler at the 4, and we would sacrifice some offensive rebounding and just send 4 back, and really didn't have many D-train issues. But those couple pick and roll, along with the defensive transition, probably 10 points in the first 15 possessions, allowed for them to have a 16-2 run, and we go from 8-6 to 26-12. And then we started to splinter a little bit and kind of get away from some things we need to offensively. Kind of regrouped and, cut that thing to 8. It was 11 at the half, and then we just had a rough start to the second half. Again, Harry, back to your question. Again, some of it the way we're going to play offense, but the other of it is just, us making sure that our level of resolve is where it needs to be. And from the standpoint of hey, there's punches thrown in both ways, either we're delivering them or we're getting punched. And in those runs and gaps, it's important for us to stay strong, to stay with our coverages and game plan, and to keep that tight, stingy defense. And but when you lose that resolve, things kind of break apart a little bit. Teams are able to, score on you a little bit easier. And I think it's in some of those resolve issues that we need to continue to fight and communicate with one another and stay strong. And I think that margin for error defensively, there's times just there's a little bit of lack of length, maybe at the 1, 2, 3, and there's some size things that there's times you got to double down in the post and you can get stretched out a little bit. But we've certainly got the ability to hold our own, not only defensively but also rebounding wise.
When I've been asking some of the coaches about recruiting foreign players, you have a couple guys on your roster. How do you guys prioritize that, and how do you go about finding those players in other countries?
Yeah, as far as prioritizing, Harry, what we were looking for in large part was some size, because we know that there's far more guards here in the U.S. probably that we feel at our level that we can get involved with, and not as many big guys. So then you look overseas, and maybe they're not as highly. Maybe there's just not as many people recruiting them. So maybe it's a little bit easier to be able to sign those guys. So it's primarily been that. And I'm sorry, part of your other question as far as just locating them. With the way technology is today and the internet, there's so much work that you can get online. But like anything, it's some key contacts that help you, do some groundwork and narrow some things down to where, you can spend your time on some guys that you think are a good fit for your program that you have a decent chance at getting.
Thanks a lot, Jeff. Good luck.
Thank you, Harry.
Coach, it looks like that's all the questions we have for you today. So thank you so much for taking some time out of your morning, and good luck this week.
Very good. Thank you, Ryan. You have a good week as well.
Hey, thank you, Jeff. Now we'll move along to Coach Dan Moeller of Illinois State. The Redbirds sit 21-5 overall, 13-1, and tied atop the league standings with Wichita State. The Redbirds also Valley Best 34 in the RPI. So, Coach, welcome to the call, and go ahead and talk about just an opening statement, I guess, with your matchups this week with Missouri State and your home matchup with Loyola.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Missouri State, it's been a while since we've played them. Obviously, a very close game. We had to go to overtime to win, and we had to come back to get it to overtime. Everybody knows we're a little banged up, but going over there, see what happens. Loyola, I honestly can't say too much about them. I haven't watched them play or started looking at them, but just focused on Missouri State right now.
All right, thanks, Coach. We'll go ahead and open the line for questions.
Thank you.
Again, press star and the number 1. Our question comes from Jim Benson with the Bloomington Pantograph.
Morning, Dan.
Hey, Jim.
Could you just talk a little bit about Paris? You talked about after one of the games that he was kind of in a little bit of a shooting slump a little bit. How did he kind of get out of that? And with Mikhail out and then a couple other injuries, how much more pressure has that put on him? And obviously he seems to have responded well to that.
Yeah, there's not much secret anytime you're in a shooting slump, Jim, and the same for Paris. Extra shots, a little more focus on his discipline with the shot attempts, a little bit of shot selection issues, and just continuing to encourage him to stay aggressive. Again, shooters go through them. It's not a big deal, but as you said, with Mikhail out, there was a little more pressure. I don't think he feels much, to be honest. I think he's old enough, mature enough that he understands his role is a little different, but I don't think that's added pressure. I think our defensive ability gives our guys a lot of comfort, even when we're struggling offensively, or even when we know we're not quite as good without Mikhail. And I do think that helps our entire team just relieve some of that pressure.
I know you've said, you're not going to really talk about Mikhail until he kind of comes back. but obviously he was dressed for the game the other day. I know that was, maybe not mean anything, but he was kind of going through workouts a little bit. Is he at least ahead of schedule, or is he right on schedule, or how could you fill us in that way?
Yeah, the only thing I'll say is, we don't really have much of a schedule as far as where he is. His body tells us that, at that point in the game, he's allowed to shoot and jog and run. So I said, hey, just go through warm-ups. But as you said, when he's ready, he'll play, but I don't want to comment on when he's ready or what he's doing too much. Number one, take the pressure off him, and number two, obviously, hopefully for a little competitive advantage. But he can run and jog and shoot. He started doing that about a week ago, and so we decided to get him out there in warm-ups to feel the game, the game energy a little bit.
Right. And as far as Madison, what do you think his prognosis is for this week?
Well, I'm going to probably go with doubtful for Wednesday. I will tell you, we practiced this morning. He did not practice, and we're checking his knee out a little bit more. But it's as soon as he's ready, he'll play.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Jim.
Our next question is from Harry Schroeder with the Valley Hoops Insider.
Dan, I'm talking to some of the coaches about recruiting foreign players, and I know Canada isn't exactly Eastern Europe or something like that, but how do you guys go about recruiting international players, and is it different going to Canada, for example, versus some of those places farther away?
Hey, Harry. I've recruited a number of foreign players at Vanderbilt and here, but the truth is almost every one of them played basketball in the United States as a high school player. Dowd Anjai, of course, is international. He played 3 years of basketball in Florida. Mikhail McIntosh played 2 years of basketball in the United States. We signed a player, Elijah Clarence, from Sweden, who's been in the States. This is his third year playing over in the Baltimore area. So John Jones was here when I first got here. He played in Chicago. So for us, and even when I was at Vanderbilt, so many of those kids are coming over here for high school. And at that point, it just becomes a normal recruiting battle once you find them. Some are under the radar a little bit, but once you find them, it's a normal battle. So I have not, as an assistant or head coach, I have not had a lot of experience actually going overseas to recruit a kid to come straight over.
You and I talked in the off season about Phil and about DJ, and just can you say, man, they've played out exactly like I thought, or a little bit about how they've meshed in and played this year?
Yeah, Phil is, his progression was much faster than I thought it would be. I thought and still think Phil has a chance to be a special player, and I think you see glimpses of it. But he improved so quickly because he's so coachable. He was just a sponge. Again, his limited basketball experience, he didn't play, of course, I think we've said this enough, he didn't play high school basketball until he was a junior. And so he was just so raw in so many ways, but he is so coachable, intelligent, he sees the floor, and that allows a guy to get better faster. So he gives us exactly what we need: length, rebounding, shot blocking, ability to score the ball around the rim. And I think you can see his improvement offensively. It's pretty dramatic. DJ Clayton has been a little bit up and down for us. When he's good, he is, again, what we need: slasher, rebounder, defender, finisher, good ball handler. But his consistency has been he's been a little inconsistent recently. So we got to get him back to playing better. But again, he's had some big games for us. So they've been good. We've got, when we're healthy, right now we're struggling a little bit. When we're healthy, Harry, we've got enough guys that can score. Those guys complement our team so well. And that's been a great thing for our team.
Appreciate it, Dan. Good luck.
Thanks, Harry.
Well, Coach, looks like that's all we have for you today. So thank you for taking time out of your morning, and good luck this week.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we'll go ahead and close our call with Coach Greg Marshall of Wichita State. The Shockers, 23-4 overall, 13-1 in the Valley, tied atop the league standings with Illinois State. Wichita State's set to face Southern Illinois on the road and return home to face Northern Iowa in matchups this week. So welcome, Coach Marshall, to the call.
Hello, how are you?
Good. Any comments about those upcoming matchups this week and what you'd like to see out of your team?
I just want to see us keep getting better, trying to play the game the way it's supposed to be played, and hopefully we can do that.
And we'll go ahead and open up the lines for questions for Coach Marshall.
Our first question is from Clay Cunningham with the Waterloo Cedar Falls Courier.
Hey, Coach. I know after to jump ahead a little bit, I know after you guys played in Cedar Falls, I know you were very complimentary of Coach Jacobson's ability to work through like struggles and find the ideal lineup. And really, with the exception of yesterday, he's pretty much stayed with the same group through this recent race. Why do you think he's been so successful in that regard?
Well, I mean, I just speaking from history, I saw it happen last year. They lost 5 or 6 games in a row, and then they were really good at the end of the year. Came in and beat us at our place, beat us in the tournament, and then won a game in the NCAA tournament. So I'm just speaking from experience, and I know Jake and respect the job that he does, and knew that was going to be a quality win in time.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Our next question is from Harry Schroeder with the Valley Hoops Insider.
Hey, Greg, Connor's been scoring at a higher rate just the last couple of games. Is there something he's settled into or found, or it just seems like he's really settled into a fresh new role? Is that a right observation?
Yeah, he just is playing with more confidence, and he's being more aggressive. I think earlier in the year he started, and we took him out of the lineup for a while, and I think the second chance of starting a basketball game and having a chance to play close to 40 minutes. You can't play 40 if you don't start. So, and we're not going to play anybody 40, but I'm just saying he has an opportunity as a starter to make a great impression and show that he's playing well, and he's enjoying that. He looks more at ease, confident, just playing with a lot of assuredness.
And your guys' defense is so good, and of course you always play great defense. But does some of that come because the guys are hungry to play as well, because you're so deep? They know they've got to go perform on the defensive end to stay on the floor?
I think that's fair to say. I mean, we set that tone early in the fall in our practices and in exhibition games and scrimmages, and then ultimately in the non-conference. I mean, we value playing on both ends, and our guys are going to rebound and defend so that they can then have an opportunity to showcase their offensive capabilities.
Thanks, Greg. Good luck.
Thank you, Harry.
Coach, looks like that is all we have for you today, and I just want to thank you for taking time out of your morning, and good luck this week.
Okay, thank you so much.
And that concludes this week's Missouri Valley Conference men's basketball coaches call. I just want to thank everybody for taking time and joining us.